We're going to check out William Lane Craig defending the existence of God and defending the existence of more beyond the natural world. We are looking at the moral argument. Let's take a look.
Number 4, objective moral values and duties in the world. If naturalism is true, then objective moral values and duties do not exist. Now, to say that there are objective moral values is to say that something is good or evil, right or wrong, independently of whether people believe in it or not. It's to say, for example, that Nazi anti-Semitism was wrong.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. We're kind of growing this channel. Thank you for watching this video.
Even though the Nazis who carried out the Holocaust thought that it was right, and it would still have been wrong even if the Nazis had won World War II and succeeded in exterminating or brainwashing everyone who disagreed with them so that everyone thought that the Holocaust was right. And the claim is that in the absence of God, moral values and duties are not objective in that sense. So, premise 1, if God does not exist, then objective moral values and duties do not exist. Many theists and atheists alike concur on this point. For example, the late J.L. Mackie of Oxford University, one of the most influential atheist philosophers of our time, admitted, and I quote, "If there are objective values, they make the existence of a God more probable than it would have been without them. Thus we have a defensible argument from morality to the existence of a God." But instead of inferring to God's existence, Mackie chose instead to deny that objective moral values exist. He wrote, "It is easy to explain this moral sense as a natural product of biological and social evolution." Michael Ruse, who is an agnostic philosopher of science, agrees. He explains, and I quote, "Morality is a biological adaptation, no less than our hands and feet and teeth. Considered as a rationally justifiable set of claims about an objective something, ethics is illusory. I appreciate that when somebody says, 'Love thy neighbor as thyself,' they think they are referring above and beyond themselves. Nevertheless, such reference is truly without foundation. Morality is just an aid to survival and reproduction, and any deeper meaning is illusory," end quote. Friedrich Nietzsche, the great 19th century atheist who proclaimed the death of God, understood that the death of God meant the destruction of all meaning and value in life. I think that Friedrich Nietzsche was right. But we've got to be very careful here. The question here is not, must we believe in God in order to live moral lives? I'm not claiming that we must. Nor is the question, can we recognize objective moral values without believing in God? I certainly think that we can. Rather, the question is, if God does not exist, do objective moral values and duties exist? And like Mackie and Ruse, honestly don't see any reason to think that in the absence of God, human morality is objective. After all, given a naturalistic view, what's so special about human beings? They're just accidental byproducts of nature, which have evolved relatively recently on an infinitesimal speck of dust called the planet Earth, lost somewhere in a hostile and mindless universe in which are doomed to perish individually and collectively in a relatively short time. On the naturalistic view, some actions, say rape, may not be socially advantageous. And so in the course of human development, it's become taboo. But that does absolutely nothing to prove that rape is wrong. Such behavior goes on all the time in the animal kingdom. On the naturalistic view, there's nothing really wrong with raping someone. And thus, without God, there is no absolute right and wrong, which imposes itself on our conscience. But the problem is, premise 2, objective moral values and duties do exist. In moral experience, we apprehend a realm of objective moral values and duties which impose themselves upon us. There's no more reason to deny the objective reality of moral values than the objective reality of the physical world. The reasoning of Michael Ruse at best proves that our subjective perception of moral values has evolved. But if moral values are gradually discovered rather than invented, then our gradual and fallible perception of the moral realm no more undermines the objectivity of that realm than our gradual and fallible perception of the physical world undermines the objectivity of that realm. Most of us recognize, I think, that in moral experience we do apprehend objective moral values and duties. Ruse himself confesses in another context, and I quote, "The man who says that it is morally acceptable to rape little children is just as mistaken as the man who says 2 + 2 = 5. Some things, at least, are really wrong. Similarly, love, equality, tolerance, self-sacrifice are really good. But if objective values and duties cannot exist without God, and objective moral values and duties do exist, then it follows logically and inescapably that 3, therefore, God exists. And thus I think we have good moral grounds for affirming the existence of God."
So this is also another argument that is a little hard to understand because we have the human fallible part of it, right? So when humans are reacting to that objective morality, they decide to accept and deny that as well. So you can have subjective morals in culture, just like the Nazis that were believing that it was true, but that doesn't make it true. Just as much as science is learning the objective reality that we are witnessing, that is undeniable, that has to be and there is an objective physical standard of the universe, just like there's those constants that have to be that way. This is the same thing for morality. That as much as we could say we are misinterpreting it, that there is that objective morality, we are applying and we are looking towards a higher standard in morality. And that is what this objective morality is. That it doesn't matter if you believe it and I believe it, this thing is wrong because of this objective truth that we have. Love thy neighbor is something that we can understand, but why is loving thy neighbor good? If we thought about this in an evolutionary way, if I didn't love thy neighbor and killed my neighbor, I would have that food. I would have a better chance of survival. I would have a better chance of mating, right? So why is this good? Because they believe that this is more of a evolutionary way, that it was just taboo, and that, rape is something that, we just slowly accepted. But what is actually making that objectively wrong? Because at the end of the day, without that objective standard, there really is no one to say that that thing is truly wrong. It's just whatever I believe and whatever you believe, and you can't judge me on that because it's subjective. So this is what that higher objective morality, we are applying ourselves to that higher objective standard.